Man, I had this so perfect the first time. Hey, what's up guys? I'm talking about synthesizers on this edition of Talking Synth. At this point, I don't really see this channel being like one of those channels that you see 1, 2, 3, 5 uploads a day where they talk about everything that has happened, and then yet another video that's almost kind of a rehashing or reaction. Not throwing shade, I'm subscribed to you guys, so you know, it's just at this point, the amount of time that I take to do a video and all the stuff that goes into the videos that I put together, which isn't really a lot, but it's enough to turn the whole process into a time suck. So, gonna talk about what happened this week. First off, let's go ahead and just get this out of the way. The Behringer 2600 pricing has been announced at $600, and I feel like maybe 8 months ago, a certain somebody had thought that that was going to be the price. Anyways, that's super good news. I'm hyped to 600 because I'm a huge fan of the sound. As you can see, I've got a 2600 over there, and got a Oberheim and just you know, I've done a lot of talking in this channel about the ARB 2600. If you've wasted your time and followed this channel for some time, you probably know that, or if you're a recent subscriber, and thanks to all new and old subscribers, and you've wasted your time looking at my feed, I've talked about the 2600. So there's a couple big reasons why I am hyped about it. Number one, a whole new generation of musicians are going to be able to get their hands on probably what I would consider my desert island synth. You know, it's at a price point that is, you know, $600 isn't nothing, but considering what you're getting for $600, that's a insane price point. Further proving that Uli Behringer, when he said, hey, I don't really care if we make money, this is what I consider my legacy, to bring, you know, synths that were out of my range, as Behringer said when he was growing up, or in general most people's range now, considering all the vintage synths have, you know, Jesus Christ, what, they're like 10, 20 times. That's not really true, because especially when you go into inflation, they've always been expensive, but they're even more expensive. So he's continues to put his money where his mouth is. He doesn't obviously care about profit that much. So $600, that's within the grasp of a lot of folks. You know, particularly if you don't make a ton of money, or you're constantly spending money on gear, you don't usually have a lot of money. Except for guys that are collectors that have a giant studio full of stuff they just like to look at. God bless you if you just love buying synths because of their legacy and heritage. That's cool. Like, but you know, a lot of musicians, we want to get our hands on stuff to play with it. So, you know, that's number one about Behringer. Bringing in the 2600 at $600 got me super hyped. For me personally, as I already own a 2600, you might go, why do you care? And I'll tell you why I care. As a gigging musician who's part of a 4-piece band, it's not really super easy to have a setup like I do live and also incorporate that thing. It's heavy, it's got a real spring verb in it, it's sensitive, and to be honest, whoever put it together, they did about a 90% good job, and then the synth just does certain things it's not supposed to. So for me, being able to get my hands on something that is got a small footprint, I kind of wish it was, I've already talked about this in another video. I definitely wish it was a bit bigger, but it fits in a rack unit, so that's great. And to me, it says, hey, I can take this places, and if water or beer or whatever gets thrown at the band, or whatever we do on stage hits it and it shorts out, kind of not the end of the world. So cool. Cool, thanks a lot, Behringer. You know, and the next bit of news that, you know, I promise this whole thing isn't about Behringer, even though they kind of are the company that's in the news the most and talking the most, is they have finished the firmware for the OB-Xa. That's super, super good news for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you, or anyone you know, owns an OB-Xa, they could probably get one for free at this point. Behringer has said, hey, email us and reach out to us and we will send, I think they said 10 units, maybe 30 units. I don't know. I'll probably put the correct information somewhere there. They have a certain amount of units that now that the firmware is complete, they want to get it out to people that actually have original OB-Xa to do beta testing, to kind of give them notes. Someone who knows that synth that can dig in and say, hey, this is right, this isn't right, or it's all right, and also design presets. I'm sure they already have, you know, internal preset designers, and I'm kind of hoping if they're smart, which they've proven to be so far, that they'll probably do some recreations of the original presets. Guaranteed, whether they do it or the people that they send the units out, you're gonna get your jump preset, you're gonna get your Tom Sawyer presets. But it'd be cool if they do something similar to what DSi/Sequential has done, which is recreated lovingly the original presets. That's kind of part of the magic that, you know, especially something like a Juggernaut that was all over, you know, 1980s music. And you dig through those presets and you go, oh, huh, that's on this, and that's on that album, and that's in this soundtrack. So kind of hoping they're going to do that. But anyways, yeah, if you got an OB-Xa and you want to design some presets and get your name in the instruction booklet, or I don't know where they're going to put the names of the synths because it's not a panel, but they'll name presets after you, and all you got to do is email there. Right there? There, yeah. If you do that, like I said, that you're going to be helping out the community, and yeah. So anyways, the big news that came after that is, I think it came out, I think it's the next day. They said now that they have completed work on the firmware, they have essentially built, while building the firmware for the OB-Xa, the OB-Xa, they've essentially built, and I'm not entirely sure how this works, but they built essentially a firmware that they're going to be able to unilaterally apply across polysynths. And again, I'm no engineer, so I'm not entirely sure how it works, considering, you know, each one of those synths had their own kind of operational way that presets were stored and how it sent voltage out to VCOs and DCOs. But the great news about this is, as they constructed something that apparently probably can mimic or emulate firmware from other synths, it's going to make their polysynth designs run much quicker, because then they're not, that was supposedly like the big thing if you've been following the OB-Xa designing process, is that they had like the actual, you know, filter and VCOs and all that stuff. They had that stuff done over a year ago, but actually designing firmware that, you know, essentially what tells the synth how it operates took them forever. And I'm guessing this is why it took them forever, is they probably started out going, hey, let's just clone the OB-Xa beat for beat and its operating system, but then they probably, or maybe from the beginning, decided, let's design something that we can put across many synths. The reason why that's kind of big news is on their Facebook Uli Behringer profile, which is definitely not Uli Behringer. I know it's not, because Uli's asked questions that he's already talked about and answered himself before in prior interviews. That being said, they're asking the community, hey, what do you want to see next? What's the next big dream poly synth? And they showed like a photo of Prophet 5 and a Jupiter, which I've already gone on record long ago saying they are going to work on a Jupiter. And I can't remember what other maybe an OB-X8? I don't know, I can't remember what it is, but you know, there'll be a picture right here of all that stuff. So they're looking for feedback on what they should do next. I personally think that a lot of what they do in social media is really smart social media engineering, and not necessarily, I don't want to say dishonest, but part of it's like part of the hype machine, because they have most certainly made comments in their social media over time and asked questions that they've already answered themselves before in the past. As someone who's kind of followed Behringer since the beginning of their synth, I've definitely noticed some inconsistencies. However, that doesn't mean that they're not listening, and it doesn't mean that they don't take feedback, but I think sometimes they ask questions about things that they're already working on. Like, being that they have already shown off, mock-ups of their CS80, which we definitely know they've been working on for some time. They've shown off, like, for me personally, like, I'm super hyped on like the polysynths that they got coming, but I'm really waiting on that, synthy. And they recently asked, should we work on a synthy? But they've already showed off schematics of their synthy. And I know for a fact the gentleman who did the cloning project has already conferred with them and already actually given feedback on what they should be doing. And in fact, they've ignored some of it, I guess, is what he said. But this is actually the reason why the cloning project is no more, or at least for the time being. He said, why bother doing it when Behringer's working on one? And yet, just a few weeks ago, Behringer asked, hey, should we make a synthy clone? All that being said, again, check the Facebook group. Obviously, the more noise is made about certain products, the more they're probably going to lean on or expedite designs. So yeah, that's the Behringer roundup. The other cool thing that happened this week is Novation and AFX Twin finally showed off what they've been teasing and hyping for a bit. It's, like most people suspected, basically a special edition of the Base Station 2, which there's a lot of feels about the Base Station. I personally don't own one, and it has nothing to do with the sound quality whatsoever. I think it's a great sounding synth. I had a Base Station back in the day. I had a Supernova, I had a K Station, so I like Novation. There's just always been one thing or another that has kind of caught my attention, a little bit more so. But what's cool, and I'll probably just go ahead and cut to some of that stuff, like there'll be some stuff here and then I'll cut to it. But what's really cool is that it seems like, and I don't know if this is something it could already do, but it seems to be doing some sort of per note modulations, which is super cool. The things that are in my studio are almost all knob per function. Probably the craziest under the hood synth that I have is like that guy back there, the Matrix Brute. But even that, if you press the right button, once you know the synth, you can see what's happening right in front of you. That's my workflow. That's what I love. That's my jam. I came out of the 90s, which was a lot of menu diving and a lot of membranes and terrible things like that. I don't have anything to say against menu diving. Actually, I do, but I'm not going to judge anyone else who enjoys that part of the workflow. I just like being able to reach right out and grab and twist something and know exactly the parameter I'm modifying. So that's my personal workflow. However, the Base Station looks pretty simple and it looks pretty capable. And in the analog world, at least again, please in the comments tell me how wrong I am and how many examples there are of synths that already do that. But synths on my radar don't really do that. And that's really kind of a thing that's reserved for samplers and digital synths. So I kind of like the idea of just, creating a bunch of madness, especially for like live stuff or experimentation. So yeah, it seems really cool and it sounds really good. And you tell me. Sounds pretty good, huh? Or maybe you think it sounds terrible. Did you guys see anything cool this week? If I missed something that like happened that was cool as fuck, let me know in the comments. Definitely tell me how wrong I am and how I missed something that's really important. In fact, I've probably missed something so important that you should probably unsubscribe, because I don't need any more subscribers. But for people that do stay subscribed, one bit of news that happened for me personally this week is I got this notification in my email. No, there, I'll put it there. Yeah, you know what that is? If you've been watching this channel for the last 2 or 3 weeks, you probably have a pretty good idea of what it is. It's supposed to be, as it says, showing up this week. So if you're interested in the Prophet 6 versus what a Rev 4 sounds like, I'm not going to say that's what's shipping to me, but probably is. So yeah, some folks had suggested this, so I'm going to be doing probably like a live cast next week when it shows up, and excuse me, I'll probably be doing some kind of live unboxing next week of the thing that may or may not be a Prophet 5 Rev 4. And yeah, so if that is going to be a thing, and if a couple more people hit me up in the comments saying they want to see that, it'll be a live thing, and I'll be chatting, and I'll probably mess around with the mystery synth when it shows up. So anyways, this video is it's gone on way too long. Like all my videos go on way too long. So please drop a negative comment below. Tell me how bad this video is. And probably don't subscribe unless you want to see other videos, that I've got coming up, where I talk about the news and I play with synths and other things. Yeah.
YouTube, I wish you could smell what I'm smelling.